you are scared as an individual, you know, what am I going to do? You know, am I going to lose everything that I've worked so hard for?
I just felt beat down, you know. I just thought I was on a merry-go-round that I was never going to get off.
Being a servant to a lender, that's what I felt like.
It's an addiction, because then you get in this vicious cycle where you really don't have the money to pay them back.
There's very little difference between loan sharks and payday loan lenders, payday advance lenders. It's just a matter of the way they enforce it. They break your lives apart instead of your knees.
Payday loans carry annual interest rates of around 400% and more. Payday loans are designed to trap borrowers in long-term debt. As of 2007, payday loans are widely available in 37 states. Payday lenders don't do business in states where they have to stay under a 36% annual percentage rate usury cap. 90% of payday loans go to borrowers caught in a cycle of 5 or more transactions per year. 61% go to borrowers with 12 or more transactions a year. Borrowers routinely pay more in interest than they ever borrowed. These are their stories.
I was working for $6 an hour through a temporary agency because I had lost my permanent job from the heart attack.
I wanted to be able to get each one of my grandchildren something for Christmas. Of course, at that time, I didn't have a raise, or I wasn't making sufficient amount of money.
So they left one thing, and that was go to those payday advances, and I hated it with a passion, but I made the first step.
So I decided to go over there thinking that I could, you know, pay them back the next payday.
And as long as you're working, it doesn't matter if you're working in a pie factory or delivering newspapers. As long as you're working and got a payroll stub, then they hand you over the money. They don't care if you can afford it or not.
With a payday lender or a cash checking place, there's no credit check required. There's no intrusive questions required on why they need the money or how they're going to pay it back. It's a simple transaction, and all they have to have is a checking account and write a post-dated check that will include the fees and the expenses for the transaction.
They get their rates regardless of whether you pay on the loan or not.
They, you know, pretty much wait on you to write this check and to give it to them. And for most people, it's like you're robbing Peter to pay Paul, because you can't pay your bills and your normal utilities, so you go to the next place to pay back the first place.
With a payday loan, the borrower gives the lender a check that is not to be deposited until their next payday, usually 2 weeks away. For a $300 loan, the lender typically charges about $50 every 2 weeks. If the borrower cannot repay the $300 loan in full in 2 weeks, partial payments are not accepted, they must pay another $50 to renew the loan. Absent some windfall, the borrower, who is already living paycheck to paycheck, typically cannot afford to pay off the loan in full and make it to their next payday. They pay an additional $50 fee for another 2 weeks. This process often repeats every payday for months and sometimes years, and can cost thousands of dollars in interest for a single $300 loan. This is the debt trap.
You've got this one place that doesn't ask you, okay, how many other places have you been to? And they give you money for writing them out a check, you know. And unless you're really on top of it, it's a real easy to get sunk into this.
Instead of it being a short-term disaster, whatever they had to do to fix it, you know, whatever they had to do without, or however they had to scramble, now they've postponed the day of reckoning each time, but you're only postponing it by 2 weeks and at a really, really high cost.
At one time I had 4, and I paid 2 each week. I paid one, renew the loan, go pay the other one, renew the loan, and then my payday was probably short close to $100.
They don't give you any type of counseling. It's, okay, you want to take out another one, okay, you write me a check.
If they want to need $400, they're going to write out a check for $460. If they can't pay the $460, they'll go get $350 from another payday lender to help defer the expense. And pretty soon it snowballs. And that's what we've seen. We see them paying as much as $340 each payday to cover the expenses for rollovers. And the APR is now up to computing 2,800%.
They never tell you, you know, what exactly payday lending is. And to me, payday lending is, you know, you give me more money, I give you less.
When a borrower visits a payday lender and renews their loan 8 times, they will have paid more in interest, $450, than they received in cash, and they still owe the original $300.
There's a subtle intimidation associated with it. People feel very vulnerable because they've got a check out there that they don't have the funds to cover. And so they're afraid of the costs involved, and they're led to believe, and I don't know that it's ever outright stated this way, but they're led to believe that they're going to go to jail if they don't redeem these checks.
This lady was standing at my door, and I'm saying, well, why are you here? She said, well, I just wanted to let you know that you owed us and you need to come in and pay us. I said, well, I'll be there Friday. So when I went out there, I told her, ma'am, I don't mean any harm, but I don't want you coming to my house.
I'm not the only one that's got caught up in this cycle, because just from that experience, I knew there was other people in that same cycle, going back and forth, back and forth. Get $300 or $250 and then turn around and come back the next week, buy the check back and reloan and give us folks $50, $55 or whatever that their financial charges was, and go about our business. And in the meantime, they're paying an extra $50, $100 out in interest and payday payments, so their payday's $100 short, and so they're right back in the same situation they was the month before. They're $100, $150, or $200 short of being able to make their house payment.
It snowballs into multiple payday loans at multiple organizations, and it is entrapment. So this becomes then, for commanders, a very real concern that young sailors and Marines are involved in a situation such as this. It begins to affect them emotionally. They're frustrated. They can't handle their financial situation. They have no place to turn, and it affects their ability to do their job. This is the readiness impact that we get concerned with.
Their policies are unconscionable. It's like drug addiction. You know, I really think of them as they're trying to hook people. They're trying to hook people. They're dealers. They're dealers in false hope, and they rob people of real hope.
They should shut these places down because they're ruining decent people's lives.
You need to put an end to it because there's a lot of young families out here who are struggling, and it's enticing. It's very enticing.
I feel I went through hell for 6, 7, 8 months, you know, just to get them a Christmas present. That's ridiculous.
Edith Hudson paid $3,500 in fees and received $765 in cash. Anita Monti had to get help from her church to pay her rent. Danny Harrell paid more than $5,000 in fees to payday lenders over 2 years. Seneca McLean had to file personal bankruptcy. Payday loans don't solve the borrower's financial crisis. Payday loans create a new crisis every 2 weeks. Join the fight to stop abusive payday lending. Contact the Center for Responsible Lending at www.responsiblelending.org.